and welcome to A to B Model Railways. This is a very exciting week here in the shop because at the end of the week I will be part of the Titfield Thunderbolts team appearing on Heat 4 of the Great Model Railway Challenge. Prior to that, we've had BBC Radio Derby's Heidi Booth in the shop yesterday to talk about that TV appearance. She was with us for quite a while, so I've put together the 3 different interviews she's done and combined it with some photos and some videos from the shop. I hope you enjoy it.
Weekends. Do you watch the Great Model Railway Challenge? Do you know what? I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen it yet this series, but the first series was on last year. Loved it. And the reason I'm pointing this out is there's a Derby bloke on it this week. He's from Sinfin, works in Matlock Bath, which is where Heidi Booth is meeting Andy Bruin this morning.
Good morning, Ian. Yes, I've just got to A2B in the George Centre at Matlock Bath, and I'm sure Andy won't mind me saying this shop is quite compact, but it's absolutely packed to the rafters with everything you need to put together a model railway. Just to talk you through some of the stuff here, I mean, these are floor-to-ceiling shelves, and there's the actual tracks themselves, there's the model engines, what have we got over here? More engines, all the stuff that you put down to make it look like an actual scene. So you've got like the gravel, the grass, different types of glue, I assume. This is all completely new to me. In fact, there's little model buildings here as well. There's a church, a servicing point. It's fascinating. As I said, floor to ceiling. There's either some little model people here, which I quite like the look of, so you can add them to your scene and make it all look realistic. Andy Bruin is the man who owns the shop. He's the man on the telly box. Good morning.
Good morning.
Exciting for you. Been on TV?
Yeah, very exciting. It's something I've never done before, so looking forward to it.
So for anybody that's never seen this programme before, just sort of lay the foundations. What is the premise of the show?
Basically, think it's a bake-off for model railways. So there's every week there's 3 teams of 6 people. They compete to construct a working model railway with scenes, animations in 24 hours. And then you get judged by these very stern-looking judges who mark you. And then if you win, you get through to the semi-final and the final.
Wow. Now, I know you can't give anything away about how far you got, but did you know any of the people that you were working with previously?
No, we were the team of strangers. You get one every series, and there's no stranger than us. We were thrown together by the production crew. So the first time we met was back in around about April when we had some pre-filming in the shop. And then as a team of 6, the first time we met was the night before filming in the hotel room, or in the hotel bar, I should say. So yeah, we met for the first time on the 9 o'clock on the Sunday before 8 o'clock filming Monday morning. Wow,
so quite a tight turnaround. How would you describe the process? How did you feel doing it all?
It was good fun. Although we were sort of filming from sort of 8:30 in the morning till 8 at night on the Monday and the Tuesday, it didn't really feel like a 12-hour day at all. It went really quick. The time flew by. We had great fun. We had a good laugh. There were some high points. There were some bits that didn't go quite so well. But yeah, it was a really, really enjoyable time.
So what are the judges like? Because when I'm thinking of the Great British Bake Off, like you compared it, I'm thinking of Paul Hollywood and Prue. Oh, this is a bit soggy. This is a bit dry. How do you judge a model railway?
Well, they judge it on 3 different things. They judge it on how entertaining it is, whether the scenery looks good, and what they call functionality, which does it work. So they come around with their clipboards and they look very, very stern. Off camera, they're very, very nice, but on camera, they do put the fear into you.
So what was your scene? Can you describe what your finished product was like?
I think I can now because we've been sort of sworn to secrecy, but we were given a theme for Uncharted. That was the theme we were given, so somewhere a little bit different. And we based our model on the PlayStation 4 game Uncharted Drake's Fortune. So it was all set in the jungle with military, aeroplane crashes, all kinds of things, jungle animals. There was elephants cropping up somewhere. So it was a very, very busy looking scene. Lots of things happening.
I love the sound of that. Were you stressed at all?
There were times during the first couple of days where things weren't going to plan, where, the stress levels got quite high, particularly on the first day. We had some issues with our track and getting it together and getting it to work, which I'm sure is going to make the cut on Friday. So there were times when we were looking at the clock thinking, are we going to get this done? And there were some rather stressed out faces by the end of the first day, I have to admit.
Oh, brilliant. Andy, if it's all right with you, I'm going to stick around because I kind of want to explore a little bit more. And I also want to talk to you about the process, the programme, and if you're still friends with all these people you met making model railways.
Good stuff. All right, it's a good show. 20 past 7. Right, you know how we like to get quite excited on the programme when someone from round here is on the telly box. It is happening this week. So Heidi's in Matlock Bath, meeting a model rail enthusiast. He's got a shop, actually, that sells model railway stuff. But he's going to be on the box later this week, Friday at 8, Channel 5, the Great Model Railway Challenge. Heidi.
Good morning. Yes, I'm at A2B. It's in the George Centre at Matlock Bath. And you might have heard me say earlier on, this place is a treasure trove. It's just packed to the rafters of everything you need to make a model railway. So where I'm standing at the moment, I'm like sandwiched between two shelves, which pretty much go from the floor to the ceiling. And they are full of different model engines, tracks, all the scenic stuff, which is, I think, what I quite like. I've been having a look around this morning and I like all the bits that make it pretty, the bits that make it look like it's really in the countryside, you know, like your trees and your hedgerow and your pretend grass, all that sort of stuff. Everything you need is here. And just at eye level is this fantastic scene. It's like a countryside railway station. There's little houses, there's a little telephone box, all the tracks are in place. It looks like we're in the middle of Derbyshire, actually. And I think, if Andy doesn't mind, we can like fire it up and have a look how it works. I love this. Right at the end, there's a tunnel that the train is just coming out of. It's a steam engine and it's rolling along the tracks. This is brilliant. Did you make this, Andy?
I did, yeah. I made the model for an exhibition I organised a few years ago, and it took me about 9 months to build. It lived on a pair of kitchen stools in our front room, which I don't know how I got away with it. My wife must have been going spare. But I built it for this exhibition, and then added to it over a few years and brought it with me when I opened the shop. So it entertains the customers and keeps me amused when things are quiet. So.
I'm not surprised it took that long because the detail is brilliant. There's even, Ian, a little cottage with a beekeeper outside it. There's a chap in the distance chopping down a tree. You've thought about all the little details, haven't you? And that's what you had to do on the show, if I'm correct. Yeah,
we had to sort of plan it out beforehand from the theme we were given, and then try and work out how we're going to get all the scenes and the animations in place. It was a long process before the show took place to sort of have an idea of what we were going to do, and then try and bring it all together in the 3 days.
So to remind people, you were in a team of 6. You were with 5 other people that you hadn't met before the show, right, yeah. And you had 24 hours to basically go against 2 of the teams and build a model railway. How big was this?
So in sort of old measurements, the board was sort of 10 foot long by 5 foot deep, so quite a large space from in terms of the shop anyway. And we had 3 or 4 working tracks on it, and all kinds of scenes and animations that built up during the 3 days.
You had to have stuff going off, things happening, all that sort.
Yeah. The idea was trying to be as entertaining as possible. We actually were very, very ambitious with what we tried to do. So we had a lot of things happening, which is why it took us a while to bring it all together.
It sounds like good fun, though. How did you end up on the show? What got you into Model Railway?
So in terms of the show, there used to be a model railway club next door, and they decided they were going to apply. They were a team member short, asked if I'd like to join, so I did. Unfortunately, during the application process, they decided to pull out, and I contacted the show and said I'd quite like to carry on if possible. I had to produce this casting video, which was interesting to sort of film myself in the front room and on my iPad, send it off to the production crew, and they got in touch and said, yes, we'd like you to take part. Put me into this team of strangers, and as I say, we met. Well, 4 of us met in the shop in April, and then we all got together the night before filming back in June.
Wow. And the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, the rest is history.
Did you get on with them?
Yeah, we got on really well, actually. We're a very sort of mixed bunch. We had another ex-teacher, such as myself. We also had a reverend. We had a young lad from the West Midlands who's only about 16, 17, so his mum had to come along and keep him company. A very, very, very interesting character. He's a lovely lad. Team captain, he'd had a really sort of hard background, but he had this infectious laugh like a pirate. So he got us all going. And then another lad, David, he had the attitude of an American wrestler, which when you see him, you'll know what I mean. He's a lovely fella. And the great thing is we've become sort of friends for life now, and we still keep in touch through WhatsApp and text messages, and a couple of guys have been down to the shop since then.
That's nice. What was your role then in the team? Because I imagine you all had different specialities.
Really like yourself, I like making things look sort of pretty and do the scenery. So that was my responsibility.
The arty-farty bits.
Yeah, definitely the arty bits. So while the guys were sort of playing around with the track, I was up to my elbows in plaster bandage and screwed up newspaper and just making the scenes and covered in all kinds of rubbish, really. When we got there on the Sunday night to the hotel, the team captain handed out our team T-shirts that we had to wear, and he gave us 3 of them. And I thought, 3 T-shirts for 3 days, you're being a bit extravagant here. And then when I got home after the first night and was absolutely covered in gunk, I realised why. We definitely needed them.
Brilliant. Andy, thank you. I'm going to stick around because just behind me is the sort of makings of another model railway. So I want to find out how it goes from that to this amazing piece of art, basically. And we're also going to talk a little bit more about how you got into all this, where the shop came from, and what you love about model railways.
Obviously, Great British Bake Off, everyone knows about, right? Maybe you've seen the Sewing Bee or the Great Pottery Throwdown. In the same ilk, and maybe you're a fan, maybe you haven't encountered it yet. Friday night, Channel 5, the Great Model Railway Challenge. It's grown men making train sets. It's really good, actually, and there's a local chap on it this week, Andy Bruin. He's a model rail enthusiast from Sinfin. Got a shop in Matlock Bath, which is where Heidi has been spending her morning.
It's fascinating when you see all of the mechanisms and how detailed everything is, even the scenery, the engines, the sort of structures that you've put around the tracks. It all looks so realistic. What got you into it?
I suppose it was like any child. I grew up with model railways. My dad was a sort of child of the sort of 50s and 60s, so he saw steam when they were going out of service. So I was brought up on a diet of Thomas the Tank Engine books, trips to preserve railways. He probably was behind my first train set that I had as a child. We built a model railway together. He's actually starting a new one now, funnily enough, in retirement. So it came from that. And I've been collecting models ever since. And so I built the layout that's in the shop a few years ago, which was the first one I've ever finished. I've got various projects on the go. My wife will probably go mad at the amount I've got, but my little girl Amber, she helps me out.
So you're passing it along.
Yeah. The one I'm building now, she's there, and she helps put the scenery on, and she loves it. So she's sort of enjoying it too. Which
so it's always been part of your life. It's always been a hobby, but it's not always been a business, has it?
No, that's right. It's been a hobby for a long time, and then I used to organise, say, an exhibition at a school where I worked for about 6 years, and that's where it became a bit more beyond the hobby. And I actually sort of blame my father-in-law for starting the shop, because last year I was off ill for a while from teaching, and at the time he wanted to get rid of his collection. He was downsizing. So I went to a few fairs and sold the stuff on his behalf and quite enjoyed it. I thought maybe I could make a business out of it. And so an old colleague of mine sort of advised me, perhaps you should start out on your own. Looked around at shops, and here I am.
Ever since you've been here and now you've made it onto TV, did you ever see that coming?
No, I really didn't. No, I think people who know me will say the last thing you'll ever do is go on television, because I'm probably quite a shy person. So it is a real change to sort of end up on the screen.
You described it earlier on as like Bake Off, but with model railways. So it's you and 5 strangers at the start, put together, pitted against 2 other teams to create a massive model railway in 24 hours. I mean, we're talking the size of a dining room table, aren't we here?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it was a very large model with lots of things to construct. So yeah, it was a massive undertaking.
You were particularly the scenic man, weren't you, putting the sort of structures together and making it all look good. Did you learn anything while you were there?
I did, yeah. I learned how to use a soldering iron for the first time. I actually bought a soldering iron about 8 years ago, and I've never touched it. The guy on the production team who was doing the pack testing opened it for the first time, and then I actually learned how to solder while I was there. And then the team captain Kevin, he's a brilliant sort of scenic modeller. He taught me how to use the airbrush. So I learnt that skill while I was there, and did a lot of the airbrushing on the layout. So yeah, I've taken some skills away that I hadn't before, which was good.
Fantastic. Are you going to be having like a watching party? Because it's this Friday, isn't it? The programme's on.
It is this Friday. I'll probably just be watching it at home with my wife and daughter, maybe cowering behind the sofa on a couple of occasions, because as well as the things that went well, I know the things that didn't.
And the cameras were always there.
The cameras are always there. There is one thing that I can think back to where we had a bit of problem with the track, and I admit it was my fault, and I realised after about an hour of desperately trying to find what was wrong with the problem, what the problem was, and it was my fault. So I frantically tried to fix it, and unfortunately the camera crew heard. So they were there like bees to a honeypot, really, cowering over while I was fixing the problem. So I might be behind the sofa at that point.
Gosh, yeah, you've got that to look forward to. So remind us, it's Channel 5 at what time?
It's Channel 5, 8 o'clock on Friday, 8 till 9:15.
Fantastic. Good luck. Can't wait to see how you get on. I know you won't tell us.
No.
It's a strangely compelling programme, whether or not you got local interest in there. But you have this week Andy Brew in there talking to Heidi, and it's